Kale the Quick here for Easter Egg Productions again. This time we're going to go look at Blender again, but this time we're going to look at how to move objects around the scene. So we learned how to move the camera, the panning, rotating, the hotkeys. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention something. The 8 and the 2 hotkeys move you up and down, and then the 4, the 6 ones look side, and then the 5 button switches between perspective and orthographic, which makes things look the same. Perspective makes things look smaller the farther they are away. Orthographic makes things look the same size no matter what distance they are, which is primarily what's used for engineering, that type of application, because if you have a line here and a line off the distance, they'll look the same, and if you need to make sure that they're the same size, that would be important information to know. But most games are done in 3D, so you're going to want to know what it looks like in 3D. So let's snap back to our center here, and you'll notice there's this little thing down here. Now what that is, that's a 3D cursor. You'll notice if you click with the left click and try to select something, it doesn't work. It's just this 3D cursor thing that messes around. You notice when I click on something, it sticks to the surface of where I clicked. So it's like I'm reaching out and poking something, and it's sticking to it. Now, I don't use a 3D cursor for a lot, but when I do use it, I need it to be generally around the center there. And you can snap it to the center easily by going to Snap, which is here in Object. Make sure you're in Object mode. You snap the cursor either to your selected, where right now it's in the center, or you can snap the cursor to the center, which is where it was already. So now that we've got that taken care of, there's the Select Multiple Objects. Let's add in another object. Let's add in a cube right here. I'll move over to the side. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But you'll notice that it has the outline now, this little highlighted beige, orangey color thing. And so to select something in Blender, it is a little bit counterintuitive. It is the right click, not the left click. I don't know why. Ancient dark magic that makes it all work, but right click. You can go into the settings and change it if you want. I'm sure you can look up how to do that if you're interested. So right click, and you notice we right click and just start moving something, it'll start moving. And if we left click, that'll commit it to where it was. But if we do that and right click, that'll cancel all the movement and stop all of that. So there's generally three different types of movement that you can do. And we're going to do them to both of our objects. So to select multiple objects, you're going to have one, hit Shift, and then select the other one. And you notice right here it shows you their mutual center of mass, effectively. And the most recent selected one has the brighter outline, and the other selected objects have this kind of more orangey line as well. So to start us off, there's the G button, which lets you grab things and move them around. Then there's the S button, which scales them. You can see the little line there coming out from the center point, which shows you how much you've scaled or shrunk or grown them. And you can actually go all the way down and then flip it. Now you notice that it's upside down and backwards. The cube is on the left as opposed to being on the right. And that's because it got so small and then everything went negative, and now it's on the other side. And then there's also the rotate key. Now something I want to show you here is that when you're doing something like this, and this is a commonality in a lot of the functions of Blender, if you go all the way to the edge of your screen, it'll pop back to the top. So you'd notice it kind of gets weird at the corners here, because now it can appear at any of the corners. But that's super useful, because now instead of needing to rotate it and then come back, click, undo, and then rotate it again, you can just keep going. And it works better with like translations and that type of thing, or scale. Yeah. So the grab, G, translates it. I know, counterintuitive. But it's easy to think of if you're grabbing something. G. And then there's rotate, which is R, and then scale, which is S. Very simple, very useful commands. Now you can also constrain them along one of these axes here. Now you can see there's these three colors here. There's the X, Y, and Z. The Y is the green, the X is the red, and then the Z is the blue, which is right now up and down. And that's one of the key differences between the different programs, is which direction they think up is. Blender thinks Z is up, and that is possible for you to change that in the settings as well. Almost everything here can be changed in the settings. So anyway, we can constrain our thing, I don't know what to call it, our translation or rotation or scaling to one of those dimensions. So if we were to hit G and then Z, you'll notice that the Z-axis, the blue, up and down, has been highlighted, and it's just, even though I move my mouse to side, it will only move up and down. And you can get it selected, hit Z to go up and down, but if you were like, oh, I didn't want to hit Z, you can change it to X, and it won't remember anything from the Z, it'll switch over to the X, and then also the same thing with the Y. And that also works for rotations, so we can move them around flat here on the ground by rotating them around the Z-axis, and the X-axis, same thing, Y-axis as well. And do the same thing with scaling, so normal scaling. Then we put it on the Z, no matter what we do, they just scale up and down. So scale again, do to X, that's what we want, there we go. And you'll notice here the cube isn't increasing in size how you would kind of expect. You'll notice that this area here isn't getting very long, but this area is kind of popping out. So let's go back there, scale. Yeah, that's because the scale is applied from this area right here, the center of gravity, the center of gravity for these two items. So scale it, they all grow the same, but the ones that are farther away move farther because it's based on multiplication, from what I understand. Anyway, you can constrain them to one of your axes, X, Y, Z, or grab it, X, Y, Z, or X, Y, Z. There you go. Or rotate it around those axes as well. So generally, that's how you move everything around here, and you can, of course, do that to individual objects. Let's see if we can put this sphere inside of our cube. Yeah. So then we want to grab it again and move it on that axis. And boom, it's inside there. All right. Well, I'm Caleb Quick. That was a quick overview on the various movement commands for objects in Blender. Thanks for watching. Don't die.